Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I'm Tammy Massa. The other day, my loved one said to me something that I almost did not know how to respond to. She told me that she would like to start organizing her things, right? She wanted to gather things that were alike, putting them together. She brought it up herself. I didn't. So, if you've been with me since episode 4, you know what I said back then, that you don't need a crisis to find an opening, that sometimes it's quiet and it shows up on its own. So, if you're paying attention, that's what exactly happened. And I had to work so hard in that moment not to celebrate out loud, but I did it. Okay, so here's something worth knowing if you're dealing with this yourself. One of the things that hoarders have in common is buying multiples of the same item. Sometimes it's because something gets buried in the house and they can't find it. Well, this has probably happened to all of us. So they buy it again and again. And sometimes it's a fixation on a particular object or objects. Either way, when she said she wanted to group like things together, what she was really describing, without knowing it, was a way to finally see her own multiples for what they were and just how many there were. So I asked her when she'd like to do it. And we picked a day and we picked a time together. Now, that part mattered more than it might sound like. I needed it not to just be a nice idea that got talked about and then, quietly disappear. I needed her to know that if we set a time, I would actually be there at that time. I would keep my word, that it wouldn't get swept under the rug, so to speak. She also told me that if she had those things grouped together, she thought she could actually get rid of some of them. I genuinely couldn't believe what I was hearing. Then came the part that made me laugh a little bit. And it's a little bit ironic if you know her history. She wanted me to use her empty cardboard boxes to sort everything into. One of the things that she has a fixation on buying and has had over the years is clear plastic organizing tubs and bins. She already owned plenty of perfectly good containers, and now she wanted to use more boxes in which to organize the boxes. Now, I did not point any of this out to her. I just took the win. So, the day we agreed upon, I showed up right on time, and she was still asleep, and I knew she would be. She's a late sleeper. So, I started digging around and looking for the multiples, and I was moving boxes around, and boy, these things sure were everywhere in the way. And part of me was getting pretty frustrated, I'll admit. And I stood there for a minute, but I didn't wake her. I looked around and I realized pretty quickly, though, that the empty cardboard boxes themselves were actually the biggest multiple in that room, taking up more space than almost anything else. I didn't push it. Yeah, I was frustrated, but I decided to leave and let her rest. I had to wrap my head around just how I was going to tackle this. So I waited a few days before I went back. And when I did, I explained gently about the cardboard boxes. I did not mention my frustration. And I reminded her, I said, you have those amazing clear containers just sitting there empty. Why don't we use those? And she thought about it for a few minutes. And then finally, she agreed to let the cardboard go. You should have seen how fast I got into that living room and started breaking down boxes. And you should see how full my car is right this very moment. Yesterday, I cleared an entire room of cardboard boxes, a whole room. It made a visible difference the second it was done. There's a piano in there? Well, I was so proud of her I could barely speak. But then we kept going and worked through her nightstand together. Another thing I never thought I'd see. And that was her idea as well. And you know what? That meant something big. That told me that she hadn't been traumatized by getting rid of those cardboard boxes that she'd been collecting for so long. It told me she felt good about how her living room looked. And it told me she wanted more of that feeling. That may have been the biggest breakthrough of all, her wanting to continue. And now I'm not going to tell you this means everything is fixed. You've heard me say it before, and it's still true. This doesn't resolve in one clean arc. But I want you to sit with actually what happened here. She told me herself. She set the pace. And when the moment came, I didn't force anything. I didn't wake her up and push the plan through on my schedule instead of hers. I just waited, and I came back and I met her where she was. If you're waiting for your own version of this moment, I can't tell you when it's going to come, but I can tell you this. When it does come, it may not look like a crisis. It may just be someone you love on an ordinary day, quietly asking to start a project. Remember, be open and be prepared. Think ahead of time how you're going to react when the opening comes and the type of plan of action that you're going to make. When you make a plan, follow through and keep your word. It's more important than you think. If you can, keep the momentum going, but at a pace that they want to go. If you sense they're motivated, that's the time to set the next date and time to come over and tackle the next task. It's more difficult to do it when everyone's done for the day and they're tired. Now, one last thing I want you to remember, there's a lot of emotion around the situation for all involved. There are going to be times, either while discussing what needs to be done or how things need to be done or when things need to stop getting done, that frustration will run high. And when that started happening for me that day, when I was surrounded by the boxes and I knew that my loved one wanted to keep all those boxes, I knew I needed to leave at that moment because I didn't want her to feel my frustration. Instead, I wanted to cool down and think of a better way to handle the situation rather than bringing negativity into it. So keep in mind that stepping away and taking a break for a moment, or maybe even a day, when emotions run high, is a good way to approach things from a calmer perspective. Anyway, I would love for you to share some of the breakthroughs that you've had. I'll celebrate with you. Subscribe if you want to keep going through this with me. I'll see you next time.